Welcome back to Breakfast Central. The conversations continue this morning, and we're moving to Nigeria, where the Arewa Youth Consultative Forum, AYCF, has warned that the patience of the youth must not be tested further with the refusal to confirm the nomination of former Kaduna State Governor Nasser Ahmed El-Rufai for appointment as Minister of the Federal Republic. A statement by the AYCF President Yerima Shettima said that the youth and indeed Northern Nigeria felt humiliated by the news that out of the 48 names submitted by the Senate, submitted to the Senate, by President Bola Tinubu, El-Rufai is among the only 3 whose confirmations were deferred. In their words, we consider it deceptive for the Senate to give security checks as reasons for not confirming El-Rufai, because it is common knowledge that the ministerial nomination list passed through security scrutiny before getting to the Senate. Well, joining us to discuss this is Parliamentary Analyst Itua to help us understand what might be playing out here. Good morning, Mr. Itua. Good to see you.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
All right. Now, let's understand, first of all, let's start with the concerns, that have made or led to the delay in El-Rufai's screening. He's the former governor of Kaduna State, so he's not a new face or a new name in Nigeria's political, space. So the reasons, about security and religious and some other things that were mentioned, reasons, basically, do these make sense? Do these hold a lot of water?
Okay. People are quick to assume or misjudge what the Senate may have based its reasons on for not confirming El-Rufai. And they have not disqualified him that they've only suspended the confirmation pending when they will get more information from the Department of State Services, that's the DSS. And if you also know, before any minister is confirmed or they are next sent to the Senate, they're usually vetted by the Security Service, after which the report of each of the ministers will be sent to the National Assembly. El-Rufai, if I recall very well, that very day he appeared before the Senate for his screening. A senator from Kogi West raised a point of order. He had a petition against him about certain misgivings. If I'm to paraphrase what he said, I recall he said that El-Rufai was accused of promoting national disunity and religious intolerance. Although he was not allowed to proceed, but he made that point. And if you also recall, just before the confirmation on Monday by the Senate, the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, wrote to the villa where he had an audience with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So if the president wanted him confirmed during that meeting, I'm sure that point would have been made. So if someone like President Keyamo, despite his many misdemeanor was confirmed, El-Rufai obviously would have enjoyed the same privilege. So for him not to have been confirmed means that the security report on him was very damaging. El-Rufai, as we know him, is a technocrat. He has done well. But for someone who wants to preside over a country that is as plural as Nigeria, hold a sensitive position, he needs to be vetted very well. He's careless with words. His utterances sometimes give him away as somebody who lacks religious tolerance, who does not understand that beyond his own religion, that others have the right to exist. And the fact that he went to a mosque where he made some very funny remarks that did not go down well with a number of people is enough reason for me for him not to be confirmed. But it's not over for him. If this president does not send a new name soon, it means El-Rufai still has a fighting chance. But you have to wait until October to know where he stands. But for now,
but I mean,
for him.
It's still hard, for the average. I'm thinking the average person will still find it difficult, to wrap their head around this, because everyone's going to be wondering what really is then the standard, and if he was still governor. I mean, this is the person who has been governor for 8 years. He was, also minister of the Federal Capital Territory at some point. And like I said, he's not a new name in Nigeria's political space. So whatever information the DSS has of him, they've probably known for a while. It's not, it's not news to them, either. So is there a possibility that, it's not the security implications that the DSS is pointing out, but there's some politics being played out in the background that is, causing this.
Now, the politics for me is secondary. As governor, you are elected. Even if you're a criminal, which we have seen in many instances in Nigeria, the moment you become a governor, you enjoy certain immunity, which means even if you kill someone, you cannot be prosecuted. That is what the Constitution says. But
Yes.
when you are about to be appointed, it means the game is different. You'll be vetted, and if you are seen to be unfit to hold that position because of certain actions you may have taken as governor who had sway in your state, it means you won't get that position. El-Rufai as governor of Kaduna State was in the news for a number of bad reasons, which of course I can't talk about on air, but it was always in the news. Utterances, his behavior, the Muslim ticket he ran on and insisted that going forward that would be the norm, and a good number of other things that he did right. But just like in life, you can do so many things right, but one bad thing will mess up whatever intention you may have going forward. As FCT Minister, El-Rufai was also very careless, but it was not as bad as this. One would have expected that a man who is over 60, 63 this year, will be more circumspect in making certain utterances, but not for El-Rufai.
Yeah, but the utterances we're talking about now, are we saying that these utterances might be a threat to Nigeria's security and,
Of course it should be. For a man who has the mindset,
aren't they still a threat? Even so, so let's assume that he doesn't get confirmed. Aren't those utterances still a threat? Or is it just when his minister? Go ahead.
After when he made them, he had immunity.
Yes.
Of course, nothing could have been done. And even now, those utterances may not warrant him to be prosecuted or jailed because he did not commit any crime. But if you also understand the plurality of Nigeria and how sensitive things are, it should be very dangerous to put such a man in a position where you have people who are not Muslims. They have the mindset already that, okay, for some things to happen, Islam as a religion needs to be protected, which is good. It means if he's to be appointed as head of Hajj Commission, nobody will complain. Or as head of Amajiri or nomadic education, nobody will complain. Because it's dealing with a particular religion which it promotes. But it's going to deal with a plural ministry where you have traditional worshippers, Muslims, Christians, and the rest of them. It will be very unfair to put such a mandate. It means he will favor one religion above the other. And for me, that is a no-go area. El-Rufai may still get confirmed, but it needs to be told that he's not above the law and that whenever a man who has responsibility makes certain utterances, he should face the consequences. And he also needs to be humble about it. His arrogance sometimes is something that gives him away. Just like the case of Kayamu, who had to be humbled by the Senate after his...
Mr. Itua, in some, fields, I'm sure that people will see these are just very tiny wins. If it is about, humbling some of these persons that Nigerians have had in Nigerian context bad belly for a while. Those are tiny wins, because they eventually will still go on to become or to, to hold some position in the future. It doesn't really change anything. And we haven't gone to that stage, in our polity where people are actually arrested. You remember during the elections, there were people who threatened, certain ethnic group with violence. There was eventually violence. The people who, of course, committed, acts of violence during the elections still have not been arrested. So we cannot suddenly now develop some type of, moral compass, for just El-Rufai. The DSS is aware of the elections and the people who committed those crimes during the elections. The videos are still out there of people being threatened. So, these for me aren't...
The irony is, let me mention some names. Of course, they are not libelous. If you bring up someone like Asari Dokubo tomorrow,
yes,
you appoint him and need to go through Senate screening, I can assure you that he will not be confirmed. If you bring up a name like MC Oluomo to the Senate, same thing will happen. As a private citizen, the government may look the other way because their narrative kind of suits your sentiment. But when you want to hold a public office where you have to deal with people of other ethnic groups who you openly threatened, those things will be brought to bear, and the DSS will submit a report. which sometimes will be damaging. And the Senate oftentimes, if they have the guts and the balls, they will base their confirmation or otherwise on that report. And there's not anyone can do. El-Rufai was not the only
Yeah,
person that was asked to wait. There are two others who have not made any serious noise about it. So why the focus on El-Rufai as if is more important than the rest? He's not, actually.
yeah, I agree, and I agree with your points on, the DSS, like for the names you mentioned, Asari Dokubo and MC Oluomo. I'm sure there's many others. There's the Tony Kabakas in Edo State. There's a couple of these
Yes, yes.
characters, but we live in Nigeria where, we've seen and unseen, shocking, moves being made by the Nigerian government. So even if some of these people are confirmed, I'm sure the average Nigerian would not be shocked. It would maybe make a lot of talking points for the next couple of days, but we'll move on because we live in Nigeria and, these things happen,
Yes.
Where, an Asari Dokubo is made minister, it wouldn't be shocking. But,
Well, I can show you if he's nominated or not be made a minister. I can tell
okay,
you.
well,
But if he's made
we
a
can't
minister,
really,
there's a process.
we can't really tell. I agree.
Well,
I agree.
let's not get into the arguments, but
Yeah.
let's wait until he's nominated, then we'll know what happens.
Yes, till then. But here's the thing for me, and this is why I was saying that I feel like these are only just wins at nine. They seem like little victories here and there that Nigerians can hold on to and say, okay, at least maybe El-Rufai wasn't accepted. But Nigerians, I believe, still want these persons, if they have committed certain crimes, if they have incited violence here or there, to be actually arrested, not just denied, ministerial position. Do you think that we maybe should get there instead of just celebrating, the, little embarrassment of Festus Keyamo and, the delay of El-Rufai?
Well, that should have been the case. There's also an aspect of that screening. Because El-Rufai was probably, his convention was suspended, and Keyamo was made to eat his humble pie, people tend to forget the fact that the entire process of the ministerial screening was a sham. People just like focus on El-Rufai and forget about others. What about the man from Sokoto State who said he got into a high institution with just 2 credits?
Yes.
What about the man from Benue State who finished secondary school at the age of 9? It was confirmed. What about the man from Ondo State who did his NYSC while he was already a member of the House of Reps? It was confirmed as well. So we've ignored all of those ones and focused on, for me, things that are not really important. We had people with questionable credentials were confirmed. Some were even had to take a bow without any serious scrutiny. But we've left out those ones to hold Senate accountable for doing a shoddy job, to focus on El-Rufai, which for me is very irrelevant. But this is Nigeria where this is good. Now, back to your question about arresting those people. If the security apparatus is not under the control of one man who determines who should be arrested, ordinarily that ought to have been done. People had expected that certain folks like Sari Dokubo and the rest of them would have been invited by the DSS, questioned or even prosecuted. But this is Nigeria where if your threats or narrative align with the government at the center that control the security apparatus, you'll be left off the hook. Rest assured that if someone else from a particular tribe had made a similar threat, like the one Tony Kabaka made in Edo State, MC Oluomo made in Lagos, and the one Asari Dokubo made in Rivers State, he would have been in jail by now. But in Nigeria, animals are equal, but some obviously are more equal than the rest. And as long as we play our kind of politics where a winner takes it all, that practice has been likely not stop, unfortunately.
Yeah, very true. And now we're seeing, we're going to get back to the Senate, but I also want to talk about the threat by the Arewa Youth Forum, I think that's what they are called, led by Ibrahim Shatima.
Yes.
Saying that they're not happy that El-Rufai has not been screened and accepted, as a minister. Talk a little bit about that also. Are these one of these groups that should be ignored, or are these signs of present day Nigeria where 5 people can set up a group and call themselves any name and immediately start threatening the Nigerian government?
I've seen the photos, I've seen the video. Of course, everyone has the right to protest, but their protest will mean nothing really. I've seen those faces repeatedly in Abuja. If you want to get protesters, for as low as 1,500, you can get a protester. Just pay some guy that will go to a place in Abuja, get them for you. They'll say, okay, we are protesting on behalf of an Hausa man, dressed like Hausa people. Say, oh no, we're protesting on behalf of an Igbo man. They have all the attire. They have different names, they have different accents, they can speak any language you want. So they are hired protesters who make a living out of that. So nobody should take them serious. And the fact that people are protesting means that something was done right. People always protest when one person is angry, another person feels that the right thing has been done. El-Rufai non-confirmation is not an issue. El-Rufai is just one man out of over 200 million Nigerians. He's not the only man from Kaduna State. There are other people who are more qualified. Besides, El-Rufai has been in government in the last 24 years. Let him take a rest. I also recall him saying being appointed minister was like repeating the class. Then why did he suddenly fuse the El-Rufai becoming a minister? Or is not a man that keeps his word anymore?
Well, it's not the only one. I'm sure you also hear the words of the River State governor. Yes.
Wiki is a comedian, so we shouldn't take him seriously there.
All right. Freddie Itua, I always enjoy speaking with you. Thank you very much for stopping by, and we'll see you again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Yes.
All right.